this will go beyond technology assessment realistically, is the sustainability of our programs. And, we take a look recently with a lot of new technologies coming down the pipeline, whether it's immune therapies, whether it's, things like CAR Ts, is really comparative to previous products, a substantial increase in the costs, but potentially huge payoffs in terms of their efficacy. It puts into question, how do you continue to fund these kinds of products, even with the promise that they bring to them? Is that the kind of thing that this sort of agency that we're talking about will have to address, or is that something we have to address regardless of whether we have a CDA in place or not?
Certainly, we have to address that regardless. I was just actually speaking in a conference about cell and gene therapies and the amazing promise and huge pipeline, but also just the difficulty in terms of implementing, right, and financing those types of therapies. So the nice thing about, again, like that data focus that is there with the CDA is that a lot of these really novel and very promising therapies are still coming to us with a lot of uncertainties. It seems curative. However, even CAR Ts, as you just mentioned, and again, for those folks who may not know what that is, it's basically you take out the T cells out of your body, you synthetically modify, put a sort of an antigen receptor that is actually going to bind. We're going to put it back into the patient's body. It's going to, kind of bind to those cancer cells and kill it, right? So, and then we actually have a technology now to basically, use viral vectors with the corrected gene or functional gene into a patient's body, and it's going to go and insert that particular genetic sequence into your body, or put it in so that it can actually make functional proteins or whatnot, right? So like those are type of technologies here, but we don't really know exactly what the long-term side effects are going to be. Not everybody responds, not everybody is cured, so we really need to ensure that we have ability to monitor and really take down sort of that real world evidence of what is happening after we implement. And it has to be really a effort that is sort of standardized, and I think sort of across the country, and you'd be able to give you need to be able to provide with that expertise in terms of how to best collect that evidence and utilize it for decision making. So I think again, like we're going to have to do all of this, what you just said, anyways, in terms of working together and collaborating to figure out maybe a new way to budget and and sort of a different way to maybe negotiate and a different way to come together to ensure that we have the infrastructure to implement, but also again, like that focus on real world evidence and data collection is going to be even more important with these new technologies.
Yeah, I do think, and let me just reflect upon the current leadership at CADTH and in the future, the Canadian Drug Agency under Suzanne McGurn with Sudha Cuddy and Brent Fraser, Nicole Mittman, Heather Logan, great leadership team. And they are looking at what is happening, not just in Canada, but globally. What is happening in this field of pharmaceutical management in Europe, in the United States with the Inflation Reduction Act. In Europe, it's the Health Technology Assessment Regulation, Asia Pacific, Latin America. So there's all kinds of things that we need to be aware of, and what would be the impact of some of these programs on pharmaceutical management in Canada. I've said for years that we are starting to see significant pressure on our ability to manage the pharmaceutical programs in not just in Canada, but globally. I mean, we're seeing fantastic innovation coming out of universities and companies. We're seeing patients and clinicians demanding early and equitable access to these types of drugs and technologies. We're seeing the regulators, Health Canada, the Food and Drug Administration, European Medicines Agency, all around the world, accelerating the approval of these promising pharmaceuticals with so much uncertainty from a payer perspective and a patient and clinician perspective. And then it's the affordability question. So all of these things are hitting us in the face. We do need to continue to evolve our processes. We're probably going to start talking a little bit more about more innovative contracting methods, and all of this aspect of getting early access to patients is going to require different ways of thinking. And as Sang-Mi said, different data to help us understand whether these products provide good value to patients and to taxpayers.